Tonight, I'm going to tell you the story of a woman who saved her daughter's life by walking into the arms of Chicago's most dangerous man. Elara Vaughn never imagined that a wedding night would turn her into a target for a criminal gang. Never imagined that the man who saved her from humiliation would be the Mafia boss feared by the entire city. And certainly never imagined that their false promise would be the only thing standing between her daughter and death. Follow this story to the end, like it, and comment the name of the city you're watching to let me know how far my story has progressed. Rain didn't just fall on Chicago that night, it attacked. Fat drops exploded against the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Blackstone Grand Ballroom like bullets, each impact echoing through the cavernous space where 200 guests pretended the storm didn't exist. Crystal chandeliers threw fractured light across marble floors. A string quartet played something expensive and forgettable. Waiters in crisp white jackets glided between tables carrying champagne that cost more than Elara Vaughn's monthly rent. Elara sat alone at table 14, positioned near the service entrance where the failures and embarrassments always ended up. Her dress was navy blue. Simple. The kind you could find at a department store if you spent 3 months saving and still felt sick about it afterward. She'd done her own hair, her own makeup. She'd driven herself here in a 12-year-old Honda Civic that made a grinding noise whenever she accelerated past 45. Nobody at this wedding had arrived in anything that made noise. Her cousin Bianca, the bride, wore a dress that probably cost more than Elara made in 6 months working double shifts at Chicago Memorial. The groom was some investment banker with perfect teeth and a summer home in the Hamptons. They looked like they'd been designed by the same expensive architect who'd probably never experienced a single day of actual hardship. Grant sat 3 tables over, her ex-husband. Though calling him that felt too permanent, too official for what he'd actually been. He'd married her in a courthouse 7 years ago when they were both 22 and stupid enough to think love mattered more than money. Then she'd gotten pregnant, then he'd left. The math was that simple. Now he was here with Stephanie, Elara's other cousin, her wealthy cousin. The one with the trust fund and the townhouse in Lincoln Park, and the kind of blonde hair that only came from salons where they served you wine while you waited. Stephanie was pregnant. Elara could see it even from here, the way Stephanie's hand kept drifting to her stomach, the protective curve of her spine, the glow everyone always talked about, but Elara had never actually felt when she'd been carrying Mila. She'd been too terrified to glow. Elara lifted her water glass and took a long drink. Not wine. She hadn't touched alcohol in 6 years, not since the night she'd sat in a clinic bathroom at 3 a.m, bleeding and alone, realizing that she was going to have to do this by herself. The night Grant had texted her that he needed space. Space. What a bullshit word. Across the ballroom, Grant laughed at something Stephanie said. His hand rested on her lower back. Possessive. Proud. The same hand that had signed away his parental rights to Mila without even asking to see a photograph of her first. Elara's fingers tightened around the water glass. The stem creaked. She forced herself to breathe. In through her nose, out through her mouth. The same way she did when a kid came into the ER with a gunshot wound and she had exactly 4 minutes to keep them alive. Someone cleared their throat behind her. Elara turned. An older woman in a purple dress that cost more than Elara's car stood there with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Aunt Margaret, Bianca's mother, the one who'd made sure Elara's invitation had been addressed to Elara Vaughn and guest, even though everyone knew there wouldn't be a guest. Sweetheart. Margaret's voice dripped with something that might have been concern if you'd never heard actual concern before. Are you all right sitting here all by yourself? I'm fine. It's just that we have some lovely single men at the wedding. I'd hate for you to spend the whole evening alone. Translation. You're making this look bad. I appreciate it, Elara said, her voice flat. But I'm fine. Margaret's smile tightened. Well, if you change your mind. She walked away before Elara could respond. The thing about being poor at a rich person's wedding was that everyone noticed. They tried not to. They tried to be polite about it. But their eyes still lingered too long on your discount dress and your drugstore makeup, and the fact that you'd arrived without a +1 because you couldn't afford to waste gas money driving across the city twice. Elara checked her phone. 3 messages from her babysitter. All good. Mila was asleep. No problems. Her daughter. 6 years old, dark curls, gap-toothed smile. The kind of kid who still believed in magic and fairy tales and the idea that people didn't leave. Alara had sacrificed everything to make sure Mila never learned the truth. She'd been 2 semesters away from medical school when she'd gotten pregnant. 2 semesters away from becoming the surgeon she'd dreamed about since she was 10 years old and had watched a documentary about a woman who'd performed the first successful heart transplant. Then Grant had left. Then the money had run out. Then reality had arrived with collection notices and eviction warnings and the brutal understanding that dreams were a luxury you couldn't afford when you had a baby who needed formula. So she'd become a nurse instead. Pediatric trauma. The hardest rotation in the hospital. The one where you learn to stop flinching when a 7-year-old came in with injuries their parents swore were from falling down the stairs. The one where you learned that the world was full of people who hurt children. And the one where you learned to fight like hell anyway. The music changed, something slower. Couples drifted onto the dance floor like they'd been choreographed. Grant pulled Stephanie close. She rested her head on his shoulder. They swayed together like they'd done this 1,000 times. Maybe they had. Alara looked away. That's when she noticed him. He stood near the whiskey bar at the far end of the ballroom, half hidden in shadow like he'd been designed to blend in and still somehow couldn't. Tall, 6'4", maybe taller. Dark suit that fit him the way custom things fit when money isn't even a consideration. Black hair pushed back from a face that looked like it had been carved from something harder than marble. And he was staring directly at her. Not the polite kind of staring, not the distant curiosity of someone people watching at a wedding. This was focused, deliberate, the kind of attention that made her skin prickle. Alara's first instinct was to look away. She didn't. Something about the way he stood there, completely still in a room full of movement, made her want to understand what he was seeing, whether he saw the same thing everyone else did, the failure, the cautionary tale, the single mother who'd thrown away her future. The man tilted his head slightly. Not a smile, not a nod, just acknowledgement. Then he started walking toward her. Every instinct Alara had screamed at her to get up, to excuse herself, to disappear into the bathroom until he lost interest. She stayed exactly where she was. He moved through the ballroom like water through cracks. Guests stepped aside without seeming to notice they were doing it. Conversations paused. A waiter nearly dropped his tray. Up close, he was worse. Amber eyes. Sharp enough to perform surgery. A scar ran along his left jawline, barely visible unless you were looking for it. His mouth was set in a line that suggested smiling was something other people did. He stopped beside her table. "You look like you'd rather be anywhere else." His voice was low, controlled, the kind of voice that didn't need to get loud to make you listen. Alara set down her water glass. "Is it that obvious?" "Only to someone who's paying attention." "And you are?" "Paying attention," he paused, "or you wouldn't be sitting alone." It should have sounded like a line, the kind of thing men said at weddings when they'd had too much whiskey and not enough sense. But he said it like he was presenting evidence in court. "Maybe I want to be alone," Alara said. "Do you?" "I don't know you." Lucien Moretti. He didn't offer his hand, didn't move closer, just stood there with the kind of stillness that made you aware of how much space he occupied. "And you're Alara Vaughn." Her stomach dropped. "How do you know my name?" I asked. "Why?" "Because I wanted to know who was brave enough to show up to this wedding knowing exactly how it would feel." The air between them changed. Alara felt it in her chest, in the way her pulse kicked up even though she hadn't moved. "I'm not brave," she said quietly. "I just couldn't afford to skip it." Something flickered across his face. Not pity. Worse, understanding. "They're watching us," he said. Alara didn't have to look to know he was right. She could feel the attention like heat, whispers spreading through the ballroom like wildfire. "Let them watch," she said. Lucien's mouth curved, barely. "Dance with me." It wasn't a question. Alara should have said no. Should have told him she didn't dance with strangers at weddings. Should have stayed in her seat and let him walk away. But Grant was watching. And Stephanie, and Aunt Margaret, and everyone else who'd spent the last 6 years looking at her like she was something to be pitied. Alara stood up. Lucien offered his hand. She took it. His palm was warm, calloused, the hand of someone who'd done more than sign checks. He led her onto the dance floor without a word. The quartet was playing something slow, something romantic, something that belonged to people who hadn't spent the last 6 years working 70-hour weeks just to keep the lights on. Lucien's hand settled at the small of her back. Alara's hand rested on his shoulder. They moved together like they'd done this before. "You're very good at this," she said. "At what?" "Looking like you belong." "So are you." Alara laughed. It came out bitter. "I don't belong here." "Neither do I." She looked up at him. Up close, his eyes were even stranger, gold and brown, and something darker underneath. "You're wearing a suit that probably costs more than my car." "Doesn't mean I belong." They turned. The ballroom spun around them. Alara caught a glimpse of Grant staring at them. His jaw was tight. His hand had dropped from Stephanie's back. "He's your ex-husband," Lucien said. Not a question. "How do you... You keep looking at him, and he keeps looking at you like he's trying to figure out if you made a mistake." "He didn't make a mistake. He made a choice." "Same thing." The music swelled. Lucien pulled her slightly closer. Not enough to be inappropriate, just enough that she could smell his cologne. Something dark, expensive. The kind of scent that probably came in a bottle shaped like architecture. "Why did you ask me to dance?" Alara asked. "Because you looked like you needed saving." "I don't need saving." "I know." He paused. "That's why I asked." Alara's breath caught. She didn't know what to say to that. Didn't know what to do with the way he was looking at her, like she was something valuable, something worth noticing. "Who are you?" she asked quietly. "I told you, Lucien Moretti." "That's not an answer." "It's the only one you're getting right now." The song ended. Another one started immediately, slower. Lucien didn't let go. "People are staring," Alara said. "Let them." "You said that like you don't care." "I don't." His thumb moved against her back, just once. "Do you?" "Yes, no, maybe." Alara didn't know anymore. They danced through 2 more songs. Nobody interrupted them. Nobody cut in. The ballroom full of people might as well have been empty. Finally, Lucien slowed. "I need to talk to you." "We're talking." "Not here." Every warning bell in Alara's head went off at once. "I don't—" "5 minutes," he said. "Outside. Then you can come back and pretend this never happened." She should have said no. She didn't. Lucien released her and walked toward the terrace doors. He didn't look back to see if she was following. Alara stood on the dance floor for 3 seconds. 4, 5. Then she followed him. The terrace wrapped around the entire top floor of the building. Rain hammered down from the dark sky above, but the overhang kept them dry. The temperature had dropped. Alara's bare arms broke out in goosebumps immediately. Lucien shrugged out of his jacket and held it out to her. "I'm fine," Alara said. "You're shivering." "I'm still fine." He draped it over her shoulders anyway. The jacket was still warm from his body. It smelled like that cologne and something else. Something cleaner. "What did you want to talk about?" Alara asked. Lucien leaned against the stone railing, looking out at the Chicago skyline. Rain blurred the lights into impressionist paintings. "I have a problem." "And you're telling me because?" "Because I think you might have the same one." Alara crossed her arms. The jacket slipped slightly. She pulled it tighter. "I don't even know you." "You don't need to know me to hate being pitied." The words hit like a physical thing. Alara felt them in her chest. "What do you want?" she asked. Lucien turned to face her. "I want to make them stop looking at you like you're broken." "I don't care what they think." "Yes, you do." He said it gently. Not cruel, just true. "You care so much it's killing you. You care because you're sitting at table 14 even though you deserve to be at the head table. You care because you wore that dress even though you hate it. You care because you came here knowing exactly how it would feel, and you did it anyway." Alara's throat tightened. "You don't know anything about me." "I know enough." "Then you know this is a waste of time." She started to turn away. Lucien's voice stopped her. "Marry me." Alara froze. Then she turned around slowly. "What?" "Not really." Lucien pushed away from the railing. "Just for a few weeks. Long enough for my family to stop trying to set me up with every woman in Chicago. Long enough for yours to stop looking at you like you're something they need to fix." This was insane. You're serious. Completely. You want me to pretend to be your fiancé? Yes. Why? Because I'm tired of being treated like a problem that needs solving. He paused. And so are you. Rain pounded the stone. Thunder rolled somewhere over Lake Michigan. Inside the ballroom, people were laughing, dancing, living lives that didn't involve standing on a terrace in the rain with a stranger who was proposing something impossible. This is crazy, Alara said. Probably. I have a daughter. I know. I work 70 hours a week. I know that too. I can't. Alara stopped. Started again. Why me? Because you're the only person in that ballroom who isn't pretending. Lucien stepped closer. Not threatening, just present. Because when I asked around about you, every single person said the same thing. That you gave up everything for your daughter, that you work harder than anyone they know, that you deserve better than what you got. And you think pretending to be engaged to you is better? I think it's a choice. His eyes held hers. And I think you're tired of not having any. Alara's hands were shaking. She didn't know if it was from the cold or from whatever this was. This moment, this offer, this man who looked at her like she was someone worth choosing. What's in it for you? She asked. Peace. Lucien's voice went quiet. For a few weeks, I get to stop being what everyone expects, and so do you. That's not an answer. It's the only one that matters. Inside, someone clinked a glass. Laughter rippled through the ballroom. Alara could see Grant through the windows. He was watching the terrace. Watching her. She thought about Mila, about the apartment with the broken heater, about the collection notices she couldn't ignore much longer, about the way people looked at her like she was a mistake they were too polite to mention. She thought about what it would feel like to walk back into that ballroom on this man's arm, to be seen. How would this work? She heard herself ask. Lucien's expression didn't change. We tell people we met tonight. We make it believable. We show up to a few family dinners. We let them think we're serious. And then we end it quietly. No drama. You go back to your life. I go back to mine. Just like that. Just like that. It was the stupidest thing Alara had ever considered. Absolutely insane. The kind of thing that only happened in movies where everyone was beautiful and nothing had real consequences. But she was so tired. Tired of being strong. Tired of being alone. Tired of sitting at table 14 while everyone else got to dance. One condition, Alara said. Lucien waited. You meet my daughter first. If she doesn't like you, the answer is no. Something changed in his face. Something that looked almost like respect. Fair. And you tell me the truth about who you are. Not here. Then where? Somewhere we can talk without an audience. Lucien pulled out his phone. What's your number? Alara told him. He entered it without comment. I'll call you tomorrow, he said. We'll arrange something. And if I change my mind? Then you change your mind. He paused. But you won't. The certainty in his voice should have annoyed her. Instead, it felt like relief. Lucien reached past her and opened the terrace door. Sound and light spilled out. The party was getting louder, drunker, happier. After you, he said. Alara walked back inside. The jacket was still around her shoulders. She could feel everyone watching as she crossed the ballroom back to table 14. She didn't care. Lucien followed 3 steps behind. He didn't sit down. He leaned close enough that she could smell that cologne again. Thank you for the dance, Alara. He said it loud enough for the nearby tables to hear. Then he walked away. Alara sat down. Her water glass was still there, half empty. She picked it up and drank. Across the ballroom, Grant was staring at her with an expression she'd never seen before. Confusion. Maybe even fear. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Tomorrow. 2 p.m. There's a coffee shop on Clark Street called Beatrix. Meet me there. Alara stared at the message for a long time. Then she deleted it. Then she memorized the address anyway. The rest of the wedding passed in a blur. Cake, toasts, more dancing. Alara stayed until it was polite to leave, then slipped out without saying goodbye to anyone. The drive home took 45 minutes. The rain had stopped, but the streets were still slick. Red lights reflected in puddles like blood. Her apartment was on the third floor of a building that should have been condemned 15 years ago. The hallway smelled like mildew and whatever Mr. Chen was cooking on the second floor. The lock stuck. It always stuck. Inside, her babysitter, a college student named Tasha, was asleep on the couch with her textbook open on her chest. Alara paid her, thanked her, watched her leave. Then she walked into Mila's room. Her daughter was asleep in her twin bed, surrounded by stuffed animals. Her favorite rabbit was clutched against her chest. Her dark curls spread across the pillow. She looked perfect. Alara sat on the edge of the bed and watched her breathe. In, out, in, out. This was why she'd gone to the wedding. This was why she smiled when people pitied her. This was why she worked doubles and skipped meals and drove a car that made grinding noises. Because Mila deserved a mother who showed up, even when it hurt. Alara's phone buzzed again. She pulled it out, expecting another message from Lucian. It was an email from Chicago Memorial Hospital. Subject: urgent, regarding your employment. Her stomach dropped. She opened it with shaking hands. Dear Ms. Vaughn, this letter is to inform you that due to recent budget cuts, we will be eliminating several positions in the pediatric trauma department, effective immediately. Unfortunately, your position is among those affected. Your final day of employment will be June 30th. Please contact HR to discuss your severance package and benefits continuation. Alara read it 3 times. Then she set the phone down very carefully on Mila's dresser. Then she walked into the bathroom, closed the door, and sat on the floor. She didn't cry. She'd learned a long time ago that crying didn't pay bills. Instead, she pulled out her phone and stared at the deleted message from Lucian Moretti. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Beatrix. She'd been planning to ignore it, to forget the whole thing, to go back to her normal life and pretend tonight had never happened. But normal wasn't an option anymore. Alara opened her banking app. $473. Rent was due in 5 days. $1,500. She had exactly 6 weeks of employment left. No savings, no backup plan, no choices. Her phone buzzed. Another message from the unknown number. Unknown. I know you deleted the first one. The offer still stands. 2 p.m. tomorrow. I'll be there whether you show up or not. Alara stared at the screen until it went dark. Then she typed a response. Alara, I'll be there. She hit send before she could change her mind. 3 dots appeared immediately, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, a response. Unknown. Good. That was it. 1 word. Alara set the phone down and looked at herself in the bathroom mirror. Navy dress, smudged makeup, hair starting to fall out of the pins she'd spent an hour positioning. She looked exactly like what she was. Desperate. But maybe desperate was enough. Maybe desperate was exactly what she needed to be. Outside, Chicago hummed with life. Cars honked. Sirens wailed. People lived their lives without knowing that somewhere in a shitty apartment on the 3rd floor, a woman was making a choice that would change everything. Alara turned off the bathroom light and went to check on Mila one more time. Her daughter was still sleeping. Still perfect. Still completely unaware that tomorrow her mother was going to walk into a coffee shop and agree to something insane. Alara kissed her forehead. I'm going to fix this, she whispered. I promise. Then she went to bed and didn't sleep. And at exactly 1:47 p.m. the next day, she walked into Beatrix Coffee and saw Lucian Moretti sitting in the back corner with 2 cups already on the table. He looked up when she entered. Their eyes met, and Alara Vaughn stepped directly into the orbit of the most dangerous man in Chicago, without knowing that by midnight, someone would be watching her apartment, without knowing that her name was already circulating through networks she didn't know existed, without knowing that the moment she sat down across from Lucian Moretti, she'd become valuable. And in Chicago, valuable things always got stolen. Lucian Moretti didn't stand when Alara walked in. He just watched her cross the coffee shop with those amber eyes that seemed to catalog every detail. The way her hand gripped her purse strap too tight. The pause she made 3 steps from his table. The breath she took before sitting down. You came, he said. You knew I would. Hoping and knowing are different things. Alara looked at the 2 coffee cups. 1 black, 1 with cream, no sugar. How did you know how I take my coffee? I asked the same person who told me your name. That's invasive. That's thorough. He pushed the cup with cream toward her. There's a difference. The coffee was still hot. Alara wrapped her hands around it even though the shop wasn't cold. She needed something to hold, something to focus on that wasn't the way Lucien was looking at her like she was a puzzle he intended to solve. I lost my job, she said. Lucien's expression didn't change. When? Last night. Email came through around 11. Budget cuts? That's what they said. But you don't believe them. Alara took a drink. The coffee was good. Too good. The kind of place where a single cup probably cost what she used to spend on lunch for a week. I've worked pediatric trauma for 4 years. I have the best retention rate in the department. I've never missed a shift, never been written up, never given them a reason. And 3 months ago, I reported a doctor for falsifying patient records to cover his mistake. A kid almost died because he prescribed the wrong dosage and then tried to hide it. Alara set the cup down. 2 weeks later, my performance review started mentioning things that had never been problems before. Attitude issues, failure to work as a team, insubordination. They built a case. They destroyed me on paper so when they cut me, it would look justified. Lucien leaned back in his chair. The movement was economical, controlled, like everything about him was measured. You have 6 weeks. 5.5 now. Rent? 1,500, due in 4 days. Savings? Alara laughed. It came out sharp. I'm a single mother working in healthcare. What do you think? I think you wouldn't be here if you had options. The truth of it sat between them like something physical. Alara wanted to be offended, wanted to tell him he was wrong, that she had plenty of options, that she'd come here out of curiosity, not desperation, but lying took energy she didn't have. So how does this work? She asked. Your fake engagement plan. First you tell me about your daughter. Why? Because if we're doing this, I need to know what I'm walking into. Alara studied him, the scar on his jaw, the way his hands rested on the table, completely still, the expensive watch that probably cost more than her car. You said you'd tell me who you really are. I will. When? After you tell me about Mila. It was a test. Alara could feel it. He wanted to see if she'd trust him with the thing that mattered most. She took another drink of coffee, stalling, thinking. Then she started talking. She's 6. Smart. Too smart sometimes. She asks questions I don't know how to answer. Alara's voice steadied as she went. She loves books, hates math, wants to be a veterinarian because she thinks she can teach dogs to talk. She has nightmares about me not coming home from work. Every single night before bed, she makes me promise I'll be there when she wakes up. And you always are. I have been so far. What does she know about her father? That he made a choice. Alara met Lucien's eyes. That sometimes people leave and it's not your fault. Does she believe you? I don't know. Silence settled between them. Outside, Chicago moved. Cars, people. Life happening to everyone who wasn't sitting in a coffee shop negotiating something insane. What does she need from me? Lucien asked quietly. The question surprised her. What? If I'm going to meet her, I need to know what she needs. Not what you need. Not what this arrangement needs. What does Mila need from me? Alara's throat tightened. Nobody had ever asked her that before. Grant had never asked. Her family had never asked. They'd all just assumed they knew. Consistency, she said finally. She needs to know you're not going to disappear. I can do that. For how long? As long as this lasts. And when it ends, I'll tell her the truth. Lucien's voice was steady, certain. I'll tell her I care about her mother, that I care about her, that sometimes adults make choices that don't work out, but that it's not her fault. You've thought about this. I've thought about everything. Alara believed him. My turn, she said. Who are you really? Lucien pulled out his phone. He opened a news article and slid it across the table. The headline read, Moretti family empire expands into hospitality sector. Below it was a photograph of Lucien shaking hands with the mayor. Behind them stood men in expensive suits with faces that looked like they'd been carved from granite. I run the family business, Lucien said. Alara scrolled through the article. Words jumped out. hospitality, import-export, real estate development, strategic investments, nothing that actually explained what the family business was. This doesn't tell me anything, she said. It tells you enough. Does it tell me you're connected? The word hung between them. Connected. The polite Chicago term for men who operated in spaces where the law was more of a suggestion than a rule. Lucien didn't deny it. He didn't confirm it either. He just looked at her with those amber eyes and waited. That's a yes, Ilara said. That's complicated. People are going to see me with you. They're going to make assumptions. They already are. My daughter will be safer with me than without me. Lucien said it with complete certainty. I don't bring my work home, Ilara. I don't put civilians in danger. I don't involve children. But you are dangerous. Yes. At least he was honest. Ilara set the phone down. I need to think about this. No, you don't. You've already decided. You don't know that. You deleted my first message and showed up anyway. You lost your job and you're here instead of calling your family for help. You're already 3 steps past thinking. He was right. Ilara hated that he was right. What do you get out of this? She asked. Really? Not the bullshit about peace. What do you actually get? Lucien was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, My mother died 2 years ago. Cancer. She spent the last 6 months telling me she was worried I'd die alone, that I'd turn into my father, that I'd spend my whole life building an empire and forget to build a life. And you want to prove her wrong. I want to stop hearing her voice every time my family tries to set me up with someone. The honesty of it surprised her. There was pain there, real pain, the kind that didn't heal just because you wanted it to. I'm sorry, Ilara said. Don't be. Just decide. I need to meet your family first. If I'm going to pretend to be engaged to you, I need to know what I'm walking into. Sunday dinner, my father's house, 6 o'clock. That's in 2 days. Is that a problem? Ilara thought about her bank account, about the rent due in 4 days, about Mila asking her last night why she looked sad. No, she said. That's fine. Lucien pulled out his wallet. He set $500 bills on the table, crisp, new, the kind that came from banks where they knew your name. What's this? Ilara asked. Rent. I didn't agree yet. Consider it a signing bonus. I'm not a prostitute. I never said you were. Lucien's voice went hard. You need rent. I have money. This isn't charity. It's an investment. In what? In making sure you show up Sunday. Ilara stared at the money. $500. It would cover 1/3 of her rent, would buy groceries, would let her breathe for exactly 1 week before the panic started again. Pride said don't take it. Survival said shut up. She took the money. I'll be there Sunday, she said. Good. Lucien stood. I'll pick you up at 5:30. Wear something nice. I don't have anything nice. He pulled out another bill. $300 this time. Now you do. Then he walked out of the coffee shop without looking back. Ilara sat there for another 20 minutes, staring at $800 like it was a bomb that might explode. When she finally left, she drove straight to the bank and deposited it before she could change her mind. Then she went to work. Her last 6 weeks started with a double shift in pediatric trauma. Gunshot wound at 3 p.m. 7-year-old boy caught in crossfire outside a convenience store. He came in screaming. That was good. Screaming meant conscious. Conscious meant alive. Ilara worked on him for 4 hours. He lived. She went home at midnight covered in someone else's blood and found Tasha asleep on her couch again. Paid her. Thanked her. Watched her leave. Checked on Mila. Her daughter was awake this time. Mommy? Ilara sat on the edge of the bed. Hey, baby. What are you doing up? I had a bad dream. About what? You didn't come home. Ilara's heart cracked. I'm home now. Promise? Promise. Mila's small hand grabbed hers. A boy at school said his dad left and never came back. Is that what happened to my dad? And there it was. The question Ilara had been dreading for 6 years. Your dad made a choice, Ilara said carefully. He chose not to be part of our family. But that doesn't mean he's gone forever. It just means he's not here now. Did I do something wrong? No, baby. Never. You are perfect exactly the way you are. Then why did he leave? Because he was a coward, because he valued money more than family, because he looked at their unborn child and saw a burden instead of a blessing. Sometimes adults make choices that don't make sense, Alara said, but that's on them, not on you. Mila was quiet for a long time. Then she said, I'm glad you stayed. Alara kissed her forehead. I'll always stay. Promise? Promise. She stayed until Mila fell back asleep. Then she went to her own room and stared at the ceiling until her alarm went off at 6 a.m. Saturday was worse. Another double shift. This time, a car accident. Mother and daughter. The daughter was fine. Broken arm, concussion. Terrified but alive. The mother died on the table at 7:30 p.m. Alara watched it happen, watched the monitors flatline, watched the attending physician call time of death, watched them cover her face with a sheet. Then she went into the bathroom and threw up. When she came out, Dr. Stevens was waiting. The man she'd reported, the man who'd started her performance reviews tanking. Rough night? He asked. She had 3 kids, Alara said. Her daughter is 8 years old and now she doesn't have a mother. That's the job. No, the job is keeping people alive. We failed. We did everything we could. Did we? Alara looked at him. Really looked at him. At his expensive shoes and his manicured hands and the watch that probably cost more than her yearly salary. Or did we just do everything that was convenient? Dr. Stevens' face hardened. Careful, Vaughn. You've already got 1 foot out the door. Don't make me push you through it faster. You can't fire me faster. I've got 5 weeks left. I can make those 5 weeks hell. You already have. She walked past him. Her hands were shaking. Her vision was blurred. She made it to her car before the tears came. Then she sat in the parking garage and cried for 20 minutes straight. When she was done, she drove home and found a package waiting outside her apartment door. No return address, just her name written in neat handwriting. Inside was a dress, navy blue, simple, elegant, the kind of thing you wore to dinner at your fake fiancé's father's house. There was a note for Sunday. L. Alara held the dress up to the light. The fabric was soft, real, the kind of quality you could feel. It fit perfectly. She didn't want to know how he'd gotten her size. Sunday arrived too fast. Alara woke up at noon after sleeping for exactly 4 hours. Mila was already awake, watching cartoons in the living room and eating cereal straight from the box. We're going somewhere tonight, Alara said. Mila looked up. Where? To meet someone. Who? A friend. What kind of friend? Alara sat down next to her daughter. A friend who might become more than a friend. But I want you to meet him first. If you don't like him, we won't see him again. Mila's eyes went wide. Like a boyfriend? Maybe. Does he know about Dad? Yes. Does he care? The question was so direct it hurt. I don't think so, Alara said honestly. Good. Mila went back to her cereal. I don't like Dad anyway. Baby. He left. You said so. People who leave are mean. Alara pulled her daughter close. Not everyone who leaves is mean. Sometimes people just make mistakes. Big mistakes. Yeah, big mistakes. They spent the afternoon cleaning the apartment. Mila helped. She was good at helping. Too good. 6 years old and already knew how to stretch $1 and make leftovers last. At 4 p.m., Alara started getting ready. The dress fit even better than she'd thought. She did her makeup, nothing dramatic, just enough to hide the exhaustion. By 5:15, she was pacing. By 5:20, Mila was asking questions. Is he nice? I think so. Is he tall? Very tall. Taller than Mr. Chen downstairs. Much taller. Does he like kids? Alara stopped pacing. I don't know yet. That's what we're going to find out. At exactly 5:30, someone knocked. Alara opened the door. Lucien stood in the hallway wearing dark slacks and a white button-down with the sleeves rolled to his elbows. He looked different outside the coffee shop. Less controlled, more real. His eyes went to her dress. Something flickered across his face. It fits. How did you know my size? I'm observant. That's creepy. That's practical. He looked past her. Is that Mila? Alara turned. Her daughter stood in the middle of the living room, staring at Lucien like he was a giant who just walked through a door designed for normal people. Mila, this is Lucien, Alara said. Lucien, this is my daughter. Lucien crouched down. The movement put him at eye level with Mila. Hi. Mila didn't say anything. I'm a friend of your mom's, Lucien continued. I wanted to meet you before we went to dinner tonight. Still nothing. Lucien reached into his pocket and pulled out something small. He held it out. It was a tiny carved rabbit, wood, detailed, beautiful. I heard you like rabbits, he said. Mila's eyes went huge. She looked at Alara. Alara nodded. Mila took the rabbit carefully, like it might break. Did you make this? No, but I know someone who did. It's pretty. So are you. Mila smiled, small, shy. Thank you. You're welcome. Lucien stood back up. His eyes met Alara's. There was a question there. Alara nodded again. We should go, Lucien said. Dinner's at 6. My father doesn't like people who are late. The drive to Lucien's father's house took 40 minutes. They took Lucien's car, a black Mercedes that smelled like leather and money. Mila sat in the back, clutching her new rabbit and staring out the window at neighborhoods that got nicer with every mile. Where are we going? She asked. Lincoln Park, Lucien said. Is that far? Not too far. Do you live there? Close to there. Mila processed this. Are you rich? Mila! Alara twisted in her seat. You can't just ask people that. Why not? You always say honesty is important. Lucien laughed. Actually laughed. The sound was low and unexpected. It's fine. And yes, Mila, I have money. How much? Enough. Enough for what? For whatever I need. Mila thought about this. We don't have enough. Alara's chest tightened. Baby, it's true. You always say we have to be careful, that money doesn't grow on trees, that we have to make choices. That's different. How? Lucien glanced at Alara. His expression was unreadable. Then he said to Mila, Your mom is smart. Money doesn't grow on trees, but sometimes people can help each other. That's what friends do. Are you going to help us? If your mom wants me to? Mila looked at Alara. Do you want him to? And there it was. The question she'd been avoiding for 3 days. Alara met Lucien's eyes. He was watching her carefully, waiting. Yes, she said quietly. I do. The house was a mansion, 3 stories, stone facade, manicured lawn, the kind of place that had a name instead of just an address. Cars lined the circular driveway, expensive cars, the kind Alara had only ever seen in magazines. This is where your dad lives? Mila whispered. Yes, Lucien said. It's like a castle. It's like a prison. Alara looked at him sharply. Lucien's jaw was tight. His hands gripped the steering wheel harder than necessary. You don't have to do this, she said quietly. Yes, I do. He parked, came around and opened Alara's door, then Mila's. Her daughter climbed out slowly, still clutching the wooden rabbit. The front door opened before they reached it. A woman stood there, late 50s, elegant, hair pulled back in a tight bun. She wore pearls and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Lucien, she said, you're late. By 2 minutes. Your father noticed. He always does. Lucien's hand settled on Alara's lower back, warm, steady. Alara, this is Maria. She runs the house. Maria, this is Alara Vaughn. And her daughter, Mila. Maria's eyes moved over them like a scanner, taking inventory, cataloging flaws. Welcome, she said. The word sounded like a formality. They stepped inside. The foyer was bigger than Alara's entire apartment. Marble floors, crystal chandelier, a staircase that curved up to the second floor like something out of a movie. Voices came from somewhere deeper in the house. Laughter, music. How many people are here? Alara asked. 12, Lucien said. Maybe 15. My father likes to make dinner a production. You didn't tell me this was a party. It's not a party. It's a performance. Before Alara could ask what that meant, a door opened and a man walked out. He was shorter than Lucien, broader, gray hair slicked back, eyes the same amber color but harder, colder. This was Lucian's father. He looked at Alara the way Maria had, like she was something to be evaluated and dismissed. "So," he said, "this is her." "This is Alara," Lucian said. "Alara, my father, Vincent Moretti." Vincent didn't offer his hand. "And the child?" "Her name is Mila." "I didn't ask her name. I asked who she was." Alara felt Mila press against her leg. She put her hand on her daughter's shoulder. "She's my daughter," Alara said. Her voice came out steady, strong. "And if you have a problem with that, we can leave right now." Vincent's eyebrows rose. "You've got nerve. I'll give you that." "I've got boundaries. There's a difference." Silence. Then Vincent smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "Lucienne, I like this one better than the last three." He walked past them into the dining room. Lucian leaned close to Alara's ear. "You just passed the first test. How many are there?" "With my father? There's always one more." Dinner was exactly as awful as Alara expected. 15 people crammed around a table that could have seated 30. Lucien's family, his father's associates, people who looked at Alara like she was a puzzle piece that didn't quite fit. The food was incredible. 7 courses, each one more elaborate than the last. Mila sat between Alara and Lucian, eating carefully and not saying a word. Conversation flowed around them. Business, politics, things Alara didn't understand and wasn't meant to. Then Vincent tapped his wine glass. Everyone went quiet. "My son tells me he's getting married," Vincent said. He wasn't looking at Lucienne. He was looking at Alara. "To a nurse, with a child." Alara's hands tightened in her lap. "Interesting choice," Vincent continued, "especially for a man who swore he'd never settle down." "People change," Lucian said. "Do they?" Vincent took a drink. "Or do they just get desperate?" The table shifted. People looked away, uncomfortable. Alara felt something crack inside her. She stood up. Everyone stared. "Thank you for dinner," she said. Her voice was clear, calm. "But we're leaving." "Sit down," Vincent said. "I wasn't finished." "Yes, you were." Alara looked at Lucian. "We're going, now." Lucian stood without hesitation. "Mila, come on." But Mila was already on her feet. She looked at Vincent with those 6-year-old eyes that had seen too much too soon. "You're mean," she said. "Mila," Alara started. "No, he is." Mila's voice shook but didn't break. "You made my mom sad. And Lucienne, you're supposed to be nice to people you love." Vincent stared at her. The entire room stared at her. Then Mila grabbed her mother's hand and Lucian's hand and walked toward the door. They made it to the foyer before Vincent's voice stopped them. "Alara." She turned. Vincent stood in the doorway. He wasn't smiling anymore. "You've got fire," he said. "I respect that. But if you're going to marry my son, you need to understand something." "What's that?" "This family doesn't tolerate weakness. We don't forgive mistakes, and we don't forget." "Good," Alara said. "Neither do I." She walked out. Lucienne followed. They drove in silence for 10 minutes. Then Mila said, "I don't like that man." "Neither do I," Lucienne said. "Is he always like that?" "Usually worse." "Then why do you see him?" "Because he's my father." "So?" Lucienne glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "You're absolutely right. So what?" Mila smiled. They dropped Mila at home first. Tasha was already there, set up on the couch with her textbooks. Alara tucked her daughter into bed. "I like Lucian," Mila whispered. "Yeah?" "Yeah, he stood up for us. And he gave me a rabbit." "Those are good reasons. Are you going to marry him?" Alara's breath caught. "Would you be okay if I did?" Mila thought about it. "Will he stay?" "I think so." "Then yes." Alara kissed her forehead. "I love you, baby." "Love you too, Mommy." When she came back out, Lucian was waiting by the door. "Walk with me," he said. They walked. The neighborhood was quiet. Streetlights threw orange pools across cracked sidewalks. Somewhere, a dog barked. A car alarm wailed and then stopped. "I'm sorry," Lucian said. "For what?" "My father." You don't have to apologize for him. I know, but I'm doing it anyway. They walked another block. Your daughter is incredible, Lucian said. She is. Where did she learn to stand up like that? From watching me fail at it for 6 years. Alara's voice went rough. I've spent her entire life teaching her to be small, to not make waves, to be grateful for scraps. And tonight she looked at one of the most powerful men in Chicago and told him he was mean. She's braver than most adults I know. She shouldn't have to be. No, but she is anyway. They reached a small park. Empty. Dark. Elara sat on a bench. Lucien sat next to her. This was a mistake, she said. What was? All of it. Dinner, the arrangement, everything. Why? Because your father is right. I don't belong in that world. Good, Lucien said. Neither do I. Elara looked at him. You were born into it. That doesn't mean I belong there. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, My mother used to say that family is what you build, not what you're born into. She sounds smart. She was. What happened to her? Cancer, stage 4. She fought it for 2 years, died anyway. I'm sorry. Don't be. She made her peace with it. Lucien's voice went soft. The last thing she said to me was that I needed to find someone who saw me, not the family, not the business, just me. And you think that's me? I think you looked at me in a coffee shop and saw exactly what I was. And you didn't run. I needed rent money. You needed a lot more than that. He was right. Elara was so tired of him being right. What happens now? She asked. Now we decide if we're doing this for real. You mean? I mean no more pretending. Lucien turned to face her. I want this. The arrangement. The relationship. You and Mila. I want all of it. But only if you do too. Elara's heart was pounding. I lost my job. I have 5 weeks before I'm unemployed. I have a daughter who needs stability. I can't afford to make another mistake. Then don't. That's not an answer. Yes, it is. Lucien's hand found hers. His palm was warm, solid. You've spent 6 years surviving. I'm asking you to try living instead. With you. With me. This is insane. Probably. Elara looked at their joined hands, at the calluses on his palm that matched hers, at the way his thumb moved against her skin like he was memorizing the shape of her. If I do this, she said slowly, if we do this, I need to know one thing. What? When it falls apart, because it will fall apart, I need to know you won't hurt my daughter. I won't. Promise me. I promise. She believed him. She didn't know why. Didn't know what it was about this man that made her want to trust him when trust had failed her so completely before. But she believed him anyway. Okay, she said. Lucien went very still. Okay? Okay. He kissed her. It wasn't gentle, wasn't careful. It was 6 years of loneliness and desperation and the absolute certainty that this was either the best decision she'd ever made or the worst. Elara kissed him back. When they finally pulled apart, they were both breathing hard. We should go back, she said. Not yet. Lucien, 1 more minute. Let me have 1 more minute where this is just us, before the rest of the world gets involved. So they sat there on a bench in a dark park in a neighborhood that wasn't theirs, holding hands like teenagers who'd just discovered what want felt like. Then Elara's phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her. Hello? Heavy breathing on the other end. Then a voice. Male. Rough. Elara Vaughn? Who is this? That doesn't matter. What matters is that we know about you. We know about your daughter. We know about Lucien Moretti. Her blood went cold. What do you want? We want you to deliver a message. Tell Moretti that Victor Sokolov is watching. Tell him that his little arrangement is very interesting. Tell him that valuable things in Chicago have a way of disappearing. The line went dead. Elara stared at her phone. What's wrong? Lucien asked. She told him. His face went absolutely still. Then he pulled out his own phone and made a call. Marcus, I need security on Elara's apartment. Now. No, right now. I don't care if you have to pull them from the warehouse. Do it. He hung up. Who was that? Ilara asked. Someone who owes me a favor. Lucian stood. We need to go. What's happening? Viktor Sokolov is a problem I thought I'd handled 6 months ago. Apparently I was wrong. Who is he? Russian syndicate. They've been trying to move into Chicago territories for years. My father keeps pushing them back. And now they're using me as leverage. Yes. Ilara felt something crack inside her chest. I need to get Mila. She's safe. I have 2 men outside your building already. How? I've had them there since Thursday. You've been watching my apartment? I've been protecting it. There's a difference. Ilara should have been angry. She was just terrified. What do they want? She asked. Me. They want me to make a mistake, to react, to give them an opening. And are you going to? Lucien looked at her. His eyes were cold now, hard. This was the man Chicago feared. No, he said. I'm going to end this. They drove back to Ilara's apartment in silence. 2 black SUVs were parked on the street. Men in dark suits stood at intervals, watching. This is insane, Ilara said. This is Tuesday. She laughed. It came out broken. Lucien walked her to her door. Tasha was still there, reading on the couch. She looked up when they entered. Everything okay? Fine, Ilara lied. Thanks for staying. She paid Tasha double, watched her leave. Then she checked on Mila. Her daughter was asleep. The wooden rabbit clutched in one hand. Ilara stood there for a long time, watching her breathe. When she came back out, Lucien was on his phone, speaking quietly in a language Ilara didn't recognize. He hung up when he saw her. We need to talk, he said. About what? About how this changes things. It doesn't. Ilara, it doesn't? She crossed her arms. You said you'd protect her. You promised, so protect her. I am, but you need to understand what that means. What does it mean? It means you can't stay here. Not tonight. Maybe not ever. Ilara's stomach dropped. This is my home. This is a target. I don't care. I do. Lucien stepped closer. Viktor Sokolov doesn't make empty threats. If he says he's watching, he means it. If he says things disappear, they do. So what are you suggesting? Come home with me, you and Mila, tonight, until this is handled. For how long? As long as it takes. Ilara looked around her apartment, at the cracked walls, the broken heater, the secondhand furniture she'd bought from Goodwill. It wasn't much, but it was hers. I can't, she said. Yes, you can. I don't even know you. You know enough. Do I? Ilara's voice rose. Do I know that you're not going to get my daughter killed? Do I know that this isn't going to blow up in my face? Do I know that 6 months from now I won't be burying... She stopped. Couldn't finish the sentence. Lucien pulled her against his chest. She fought it for exactly 3 seconds. Then she collapsed. I've got you, he said quietly. I promise. I've got you. And Ilara, who hadn't let anyone hold her in 6 years, held on like he was the only thing keeping her from drowning. Because he was. Outside, Chicago hummed with danger she couldn't see. Inside, a man she barely knew was promising to protect her from threats she didn't understand. And somewhere in the dark, Viktor Sokolov was watching, waiting, planning. And Ilara Vaughn had just stepped past the point of no return. Ilara packed in the dark. 2 suitcases. One for her, one for Mila. 6 years of life condensed into fabric and zippers. She moved through the apartment like a ghost, pulling clothes from drawers, grabbing Mila's favorite books, her toothbrush, the stuffed elephant she'd had since birth. Lucien stood by the door, watching, not helping, just watching with those amber eyes that saw too much. You don't have to do this, he said quietly. Yes, I do. We could get you protection here, keep guards outside, install cameras. In this building? Ilara laughed without humor. The landlord won't even fix the heat. You think he's going to let you install a security system? I wasn't planning to ask. She stopped packing. You can't just take over people's lives. I'm not taking over, I'm protecting. Same thing. It's really not. Ilara zipped the first suitcase closed, harder than necessary. The The sound echoed through the small apartment like a gunshot. How long have you known? About Viktor Sokolov watching me. How long? Lucien didn't answer immediately. That told her everything. Since the wedding, he said finally. The air left her lungs. What? Someone took photos of us dancing, of us on the terrace. They started circulating through certain networks within hours. And you didn't think to mention this? I thought I could handle it quietly. Well, you were wrong. Ilara's voice went sharp, hard. You were wrong, and now my daughter is a target because you thought you could handle it. Your daughter is a target because your cousin sold information to the Russians. The world tilted sideways. What did you say? Lucian's jaw tightened. Your cousin, the one who's married to Grant. She's a gambling addict, owes money all over the city. Victor's people approached her 3 days ago, offered to clear her debt in exchange for information about you. You're lying. I'm not. Stephanie wouldn't, but even as Ilara said it, she knew it was possible. Stephanie had always been reckless, always chasing the next thrill, the next high. How do you know this? Because I make it my business to know. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting right now. Lucian crossed his arms. Pack. We're leaving in 10 minutes. Don't tell me what to do. Someone has to. Ilara threw a shoe at him. He caught it without blinking. Feel better? He asked. No. Good. Channel that anger into something useful, like keeping your daughter alive. The words were brutal, necessary, true. Ilara went back to packing. 5 minutes later, she was shaking Mila awake. Baby, wake up. Mila's eyes opened slowly, confused. Mommy? What's wrong? Nothing's wrong, but we need to go. Where? To Lucian's house, just for a little while. Right now? Right now. Mila sat up. She was wearing her favorite pajamas, pink with rabbits on them. She clutched the wooden rabbit Lucian had given her. Is something bad happening? Ilara's throat closed. She forced the words out anyway. I'm keeping you safe. That's all you need to know. Okay? Just like that. No argument. No questions. Because Mila had spent 6 years learning to trust her mother's instincts, even when they didn't make sense. Ilara dressed her quickly. Jeans, hoodie, sneakers. Then she carried both suitcases to the door where Lucien was waiting. He took them without a word. They walked down 3 flights of stairs, past Mr. Chen's door, past the apartment where someone was always screaming, past the broken elevator that hadn't worked in 2 years. Outside, one of the black SUVs was running. A man in a dark suit opened the back door. Mila climbed in. Ilara followed. Lucien got in the front passenger seat. Marcus, take us home. The driver nodded. They pulled away from the curb. Ilara watched her apartment building disappear in the side mirror, watched the only home Mila had ever known fade into darkness. And she wondered if they'd ever come back. The drive took 30 minutes. Lucian's penthouse was in a building that overlooked Lake Michigan, the kind of building where doormen wore uniforms and elevators required key cards to access the upper floors. They rode up in silence. The doors opened directly into Lucien's apartment. No hallway. No shared space. Just straight into a living room that was bigger than Ilara's entire apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows looked out over the water. The city glowed below them like scattered diamonds. Furniture that probably cost more than Ilara made in a year. Art on the walls that looked important. Mila's eyes went wide. You live here? Yes, Lucian said. All by yourself? Usually. It's so big. It is. Mila wandered toward the windows. She pressed her face against the glass, staring out at the Chicago skyline. I can see our apartment from here, I think. Is that it? The building with the red lights? Ilara looked where she was pointing. Maybe, baby. But it wasn't. Their building was too far, too small, too insignificant to see from up here. Lucian set their suitcases down. I'll show you the bedrooms. He led them down a hallway, 3 doors. He opened the first one. This is yours, he said to Ilara. The room was enormous, king-size bed, walk-in closet, attached bathroom with a tub that could fit 3 people, windows that showed the lake stretching out to the horizon. I can't sleep here, Ilara said. Why not? Because it's too much. It's a bed. It's a statement. Lucien's mouth almost curved. Take the statement. You've earned it. He opened the second door. This room was smaller, painted a soft yellow. There was a twin bed with a white comforter, a bookshelf already filled with books, a desk by the window. "This is for Mila," Lucien said. Mila walked in slowly. She touched the bookshelf, pulled out a book. It was a copy of Charlotte's Web, her favorite. "How did you know?" she whispered. "I asked," Lucien said. "Who?" "Your mom." Mila looked at Alara. "You told him?" "I must have mentioned it." "When?" Alara didn't remember, couldn't remember, but apparently she had. Mila climbed onto the bed. She bounced once, twice. "This is the softest bed I've ever felt." "Good," Lucien said. "Get some sleep. It's late." "Can I read first?" "For a little while." Mila grabbed Charlotte's Web and settled against the pillows. The wooden rabbit sat on the nightstand next to her. Alara tucked her in, kissed her forehead. "I'm right next door if you need me." "I know, Mommy. I love you." "Love you too." Alara left the door cracked open. Then she followed Lucien back to the living room. He poured 2 glasses of whiskey, handed her one. She drank it in one swallow. "Easy," he said. "Don't." "Don't what?" "Don't tell me to calm down. Don't tell me it's going to be okay. Don't give me any bullshit about how this is all under control." "I wasn't going to." "Then what were you going to say?" Lucien set his glass down. "I was going to say that you're allowed to fall apart, but not yet. Not until Mila is asleep." The gentleness in his voice almost broke her. Alara set her glass down before she threw it. "I need to call my family." "No." "Excuse me?" "You can't call them. Not yet. My cousin is selling information to the Russians, and you don't think I should warn my family? I think your family is how the information got out in the first place." Lucien's voice was steady, patient. "Stephanie talked. She told people about us, about you, about Mila. The Russians didn't come to her randomly. Someone told them she was vulnerable." "Who?" "I don't know yet." "But you're going to find out." "Yes." Alara paced. The living room was too big, too open. She felt exposed, visible. "What happens now?" "Now we wait." "For what?" "For Victor to make his move. And then?" "And then I end this." The certainty in his voice should have been comforting. Instead, it was terrifying, because Alara was starting to understand exactly what Lucien Moretti was capable of when he said he'd end something. "I want to see Stephanie," she said. "No." "That wasn't a request." "It wasn't a good idea either." "I don't care." Alara stopped pacing. Faced him. "She's my cousin, my family. If she's in trouble, I need to know why." "You already know why. She gambles, she loses, she pays." "There's more to it than that. Is there?" "There has to be." Lucien studied her. Then he pulled out his phone. Made a call. "Marcus, bring the file." He hung up. "What file?" Alara asked. "The one you're about to wish I didn't have." 5 minutes later, Marcus arrived. He was the same man who'd driven them. Tall, broad, the kind of face that had seen violence and stopped being surprised by it. He handed Lucien a manila folder. Then he left. Lucien gave it to Alara. She opened it. Inside were bank statements, casino receipts, photos of Stephanie entering buildings Alara didn't recognize, meeting people Alara had never seen, and at the bottom, a single photograph. Stephanie and Grant, outside a hotel, 2 months ago. They were kissing. Alara's vision blurred. When was this taken? March 17th. They were already married. Yes. And she was pregnant. Yes. Alara flipped through the rest of the file. More photos, more receipts. A pattern emerging that made her stomach turn. Stephanie hadn't just been gambling, she'd been stealing. From Grant, from her parents, from anyone who trusted her. And when that hadn't been enough, she'd started selling information. About family, about business, about anything someone would pay for, including Alara. "How long have you known about this?" Alara asked quietly. "Since Thursday. And you didn't tell me. I was trying to protect you." "By lying?" "By giving you time to process one disaster before hitting you with another." Alara closed the file, set it on the coffee table. walked to the windows. Chicago sprawled below her. Millions of lights, millions of people, all of them living lives that didn't involve standing in a stranger's penthouse holding evidence that her family had betrayed her. "I need air," she said. "The terrace is through there." She found the door, stepped outside. The wind hit her immediately, cold, sharp. It smelled like water and exhaust, and all the things cities smelled like when you were too high up to see the details. Lucian followed her out. "You should go inside," Elara said. "No. I want to be alone." "I know." They stood there in silence. The city hummed below them. Somewhere a siren wailed. Somewhere someone was laughing. Somewhere life was happening to people who didn't know that family could turn on you. "My whole life," Elara said quietly, "I've tried to do the right thing. I worked hard. I stayed out of trouble. I took care of my daughter, and none of it mattered. It mattered to Mila." "Did it?" "Because right now, she's sleeping in a strange bed in a strange house. Because my cousin decided I was worth more as a bargaining chip than as family. Your cousin is sick. Don't make excuses for her." "I'm not. I'm explaining." "There's nothing to explain." Elara's voice cracked. "She chose money over me, over Mila. She chose to put a 6-year-old child in danger because she couldn't stop gambling." "Yes." The honesty of it was worse than any excuse would have been. Elara wrapped her arms around herself. The dress Lucien had bought her wasn't warm enough for this. Nothing was warm enough for this. "What am I supposed to do now?" she asked. "You survive." "I've been surviving for 6 years." "Then you're good at it." "I'm tired of being good at it." Lucien moved closer, not touching, just present. "Then stop surviving and start fighting." "I don't know how." "Yes, you do. You've been fighting your whole life. You just called it something else." Elara turned to face him. "What am I fighting for?" "For Mila. For yourself. For the life you were supposed to have before Grant left and your family forgot you existed." "And what if I lose?" "You won't." "You can't know that." "I can promise it." Elara searched his face, looking for the lie, the angle, the reason he was doing this. She didn't find one. "Why do you care?" she asked. "Really? Why do you care what happens to me?" Lucien was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Because when I watched you sit alone at that wedding, I saw myself. Someone who'd learned to be invisible because visible meant vulnerable. Someone who'd spent so long protecting themselves they forgot what it felt like to be protected. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have." He stepped closer, close enough that she could see the scar on his jaw, the way his eyes weren't quite gold and weren't quite brown, the way his mouth was set in a line that suggested softness was something he'd forgotten. "I'm not good at this," he said quietly, "at being gentle, at saying the right things. My world doesn't work that way, but I'm trying. For you, for Mila. I'm trying to be something other than what I was built to be." "And what were you built to be?" "Dangerous." The word hung between them. Elara should have stepped back, should have put distance between herself and this man who just admitted he was exactly what she'd suspected. Instead, she kissed him. It was nothing like the kiss in the park. This was desperation, anger, fear. 6 years of being alone compressed into a single moment of connection. Lucien kissed her back like a man who'd been waiting his entire life for permission. When they finally broke apart, they were both breathing hard. "We should go inside," Elara said. "Probably." Neither of them moved. Then Alara's phone rang. She pulled it out. Unknown number again. Her stomach dropped. "Don't answer it," Lucien said. She answered it anyway. "Hello?" Heavy breathing. Then that same rough voice from before. "Elara Vaughn, you're a hard woman to find." "What do you want?" "I want you to understand something. Lucien Moretti thinks he can protect you. He thinks his money and his men and his name mean something, but they don't. Not to us. Then why are you calling?" "Because we're going to give you a choice tomorrow, noon. There's a warehouse on the south side, Pier 17. Come alone. We'll trade your cousin for information." "What information?" "Details about Moretti's operations, shipments, routes, associates. Everything you've learned since you started playing house with him." Elara's blood went cold. "I don't know anything." "Then you better learn fast. Because if you don't show up, We're going to kill Stephanie, slowly. And we're going to send the video to everyone in your family so they know exactly whose fault it was. You're lying. Am I? There was a sound in the background. A woman crying, begging, Stephanie's voice. Please, please, I didn't mean to. I didn't know they'd... The sound cut off. Tomorrow, noon, Pier 17. Come alone, or she dies. The line went dead. Alara stood there with the phone against her ear, even though there was nothing but silence now. Lucian took it from her gently. What did they say? She told him. His face went absolutely still. Then he pulled out his own phone and made a call. Get everyone. I don't care where they are. I need them at the penthouse in 20 minutes. No, not tomorrow. Now. He hung up. You can't go, he said to Alara. She's my cousin. She's the reason you're in danger. I don't care. You should. Well, I don't. Alara's voice rose. She's family. She made a mistake. A terrible, stupid mistake. But I'm not going to let her die for it. They'll kill you. Maybe. Not maybe. Definitely. The moment you walk into that warehouse, you're dead. They don't want information. They want leverage. And a dead body sends a better message than a live hostage. Then what am I supposed to do? Let her die? Yes. The word was brutal, final. Alara stepped back. You can't mean that. I do. She's a person, a human being. She's the woman who sold you to the Russians for $20,000. Lucian's voice was cold now, sharp. She looked at your daughter and decided she was worth less than clearing a gambling debt. She made her choice. Now you have to make yours. That's not a choice. It's the only one you have. Alara felt something crack inside her, something fundamental. If I don't go, they'll kill her. Yes. And you're okay with that. I'm okay with you staying alive. That's not the same thing. In my world, it is. Alara looked at him, really looked at him. At the man who'd danced with her at a wedding, who'd given her daughter a wooden rabbit, who'd promised to protect them. And she saw exactly what he was. A killer. Not in the abstract, not in the theoretical, in the real, concrete, I have made this choice before way that left marks you couldn't wash off. I need to think, she said. There's nothing to think about. Yes, there is. She walked back inside, past the living room, past the kitchen, back to the bedroom Lucian had given her. She closed the door, leaned against it, and tried to breathe. Her phone buzzed. A text this time. Unknown. We know you're with him. We know he's telling you not to come. But you will. Because you're not like him. You still think people are worth saving. Tomorrow, noon, Pier 17. We'll be waiting. Alara stared at the message until the screen went dark. Then she deleted it and started planning. She waited until 2 a.m., until the penthouse was quiet, until she could hear Lucian moving around in the third bedroom, until Mila had been asleep for hours. Then she packed a small bag. Just the essentials. Phone, wallet, the pepper spray she'd carried since Mila was born. She wrote a note. Short, simple. I'm sorry. I have to do this. Take care of Mila. Tell her I love her. Tell her I'm coming back. She set it on the bed where Lucian would find it. Then she checked on Mila one last time. Her daughter was sleeping. The wooden rabbit clutched against her chest. She looked peaceful. Safe. Alara kissed her forehead. I love you, baby, more than anything. Then she left. The elevator required a key card. She used the one Lucian had given her earlier, the one he probably assumed she wouldn't use without telling him. The doors opened on the ground floor. The lobby was empty. The doorman was outside, dealing with a taxi. Alara slipped past him, hit the street. It was colder now. The wind off the lake cut through her jacket like knives. She pulled it tighter and started walking. She made it 3 blocks before a car pulled up next to her. Black SUV, tinted windows. The passenger window rolled down. Marcus sat behind the wheel. Get in. No. That wasn't a request. I'm not going back. I know, that's why I'm here. Alara stopped walking. What? Get in the car, Alara. I'll take you to Pier 17. Why would you do that? Because Lucien told me to. He doesn't know I left. Marcus smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. He knows everything. Alara's stomach dropped. He's been tracking my phone. Among other things. That's smart. That's smart. Now get in before you freeze to death out here. Alara climbed into the passenger seat. The car was warm. The heater was running. Marcus pulled back into traffic. Does he know where I'm going? Alara asked. Yes. Is he coming? Yes. To stop me? To finish this. They drove in silence for 20 minutes. The neighborhoods got worse, streetlights flickered and died. Buildings stood empty with broken windows and graffiti tags. Finally, Marcus pulled over. This is as far as I go. Alara looked out the window. They were 2 blocks from the warehouse district. She could see Pier 17 in the distance, a massive structure silhouetted against the lake. What am I supposed to do now? She asked. Marcus reached into the glove compartment, pulled out a small black object, handed it to her. It was a gun. I can't take this, Alara said. You can, and you will. I don't know how to shoot. Point and pull. The safety's already off. Alara stared at the weapon. It was heavier than she'd expected, colder. If they search me, they won't. They think you're a scared single mother coming to save her cousin. They're not expecting you to be armed. What if I can't do it? Then you die. Marcus said it without emotion. Just fact. But if it comes down to you or them, you pull that trigger. You understand me? Alara nodded. She got out of the car. The cold hit her immediately. Worse than before. The wind off the lake was brutal. She started walking toward Pier 17. Behind her, Marcus drove away. Ahead of her, the warehouse loomed, and somewhere in the dark, Lucien Moretti was coming. Alara just hoped he'd get there before she had to make a choice she couldn't take back. The warehouse smelled like oil and rust, and things that had died a long time ago. Alara stepped through the open bay door with the gun heavy in her jacket pocket and her heart trying to punch through her ribs. It was dark inside. A few work lights hung from chains, throwing harsh shadows across concrete floors and metal scaffolding. Water dripped somewhere. The sound echoed. Hello? Her voice came out smaller than she wanted. Footsteps. 3 men emerged from the shadows. They wore dark clothes, ski masks, gloves. The one in front was bigger than the others. He moved like violence was a language he spoke fluently. Alara Vaughn, he said. His accent was thick, Russian. You came. Where's Stephanie? First we search you. That wasn't the deal. The deal changed, he gestured. Arms out. Alara hesitated. The gun in her pocket felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. If she let them search her, they'd find it. If she didn't, they'd know she was hiding something. She raised her arms. The big man stepped forward. His hands moved over her quickly, professional, efficient. He found the gun immediately. Well, he said. This is interesting. He pulled it out, looked at it, then looked at her. Who gave you this? No one. You expect me to believe you brought a gun to a negotiation? I expect you to believe I'm not stupid. He laughed. No, you're something worse. You're brave. He tucked the gun into his own jacket. Then he pulled out his phone. Made a call. Spoke in Russian too fast for Alara to follow. He hung up. Change of plans, he said. Victor wants to meet you personally. That wasn't... I know, but Victor is curious. He wants to see the woman who made Lucien Moretti break his rules. I didn't make him do anything. No? Then why are you here instead of safe in his penthouse? Because she was an idiot. Because she'd thought she could save someone. Because 6 years of being invisible had made her forget that some people weren't worth saving. A door opened at the far end of the warehouse. More footsteps. These slower. More measured. A man walked into the light. He was shorter than the others. Slim, well-dressed. He wore an expensive coat and gloves that looked like they'd never touched anything dirty. His face was unremarkable, forgettable, the kind of face you'd pass on the street without noticing. But his eyes were wrong, too cold, too calculating. This was Viktor Sokolov. Alara Vaughn, he said. His English was perfect, unaccented. I've heard so much about you. Where's my cousin? Straight to business. I appreciate that. He gestured. Bring her out. 2 more men appeared. They were dragging someone between them, Stephanie. She looked terrible. Her face was bruised, her clothes were torn. She was crying. When she saw Alara, she started screaming, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean, they said they'd, please, please, I'm so sorry." "Shut up," one of the men said. He hit her, hard. Stephanie collapsed. Alara started forward. The big man grabbed her arm. "Easy," he said. Victor walked closer. He studied Alara the way someone might study an interesting insect. "You're not what I expected." "What did you expect?" "Someone harder, colder, someone more like Lucian." He paused. "But you're soft, emotional. You actually care about this pathetic creature who sold you to save herself. She's family." "Family?" Victor smiled. "Such a strange concept. In my world, family is just another word for weakness. Something people use to manipulate you, to control you, to make you do things that go against your own survival." "Then your world is broken." "Perhaps, but it's honest." He gestured to Stephanie. "Look at her. She gambled away everything. She stole from people who trusted her. She sold information that put you and your daughter in danger. And still, you came here to save her. Why?" "Because it's the right thing to do." "The right thing," Victor laughed. "Do you know what the right thing gets you in Chicago? Dead, or worse. I'll take my chances." "Will you?" He pulled out a gun. Not the one they'd taken from Alara. A different one. Bigger. "Let me make this simple. I'm going to give you a choice. You tell me everything you know about Lucian's operations, or I kill your cousin, right here, right now." Alara's throat closed. "I don't know anything." "Then she dies." He pointed the gun at Stephanie. "Wait," Alara started. The warehouse exploded. Not literally, but close. The bay doors burst open. Black SUVs crashed through. Men in tactical gear poured out. Gunfire erupted. Victor's men scattered. Alara hit the ground. Stephanie was screaming again. And then Lucien was there. He moved through the chaos like it was choreographed. Two of Victor's men went down before they even raised their weapons. Another one tried to run. Lucien caught him, did something with his hands that made the man crumple. Then he was standing over Alara. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head. "Good. Stay down." He turned. Victor was trying to leave through a side door. Lucien caught him in 3 steps. What happened next was brutal, efficient, the kind of violence that came from years of practice. When it was over, Victor was on his knees, blood running from his nose, his hands zip-tied behind his back. Lucien pressed a gun to the back of his head. "Please," Victor said, "please. We can negotiate. I can—" "You threatened her," Lucien said quietly. "You threatened her daughter. There's no negotiating that." "I was following orders. Alexei wanted—" "I don't care what Alexei wanted. You made a choice. You involved civilians. You involved a child." "So did you." Lucien went very still. "What did you say?" Victor laughed. It came out wet, broken. "You think you're better than me? You think protecting one woman makes you different? You're the same. We're all the same. We use people. We break them. We throw them away when they stop being useful." "No," Lucien said. "I'm nothing like you." He pulled the trigger. The sound was enormous in the enclosed space. Victor crumpled. Alara couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't process what she'd just seen. Lucien turned. His face was spattered with blood that wasn't his. "We need to go," he said. "You killed him." "Yes." Just like that. Just like that. Alara looked at Stephanie. Her cousin was still alive, still crying. One of Lucien's men was helping her up. Then she looked at Lucien, at the man who danced with her, who'd bought her daughter a wooden rabbit, who'd just executed someone without hesitation. "Take me home," she said. "Alara, take me home." The ride back was silent. Stephanie was in a different vehicle, getting medical attention, getting debriefed, getting whatever happened to people who'd been stupid enough to betray the Morettis. Alara sat in the back seat of Lucien's SUV and watched Chicago blur past. When they reached the penthouse, she went straight to Mila's room. Her daughter was still asleep, still safe, still completely unaware that her mother had just watched a man die. Alara sat on the edge of the bed and cried. She cried for Stephanie, for Victor, for the version of herself who'd thought she could save people. She cried until there was nothing left. Then Lucien appeared in the doorway. "We need to talk," he said. "Not now." "Yes, now." Alara stood, followed him to the living room. He poured 2 glasses of whiskey, handed her one. She didn't drink it. "I'm taking Mila and leaving," she said. "No, you're not. You don't get to tell me what to do. This isn't about control. This is about survival. Victor is dead, but his organization isn't. They're going to retaliate, and the only thing keeping you safe right now is me. You killed a man. I killed a man who was going to kill you. That doesn't make it right. I never said it did." Lucien set his glass down. "I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm not even asking you to understand. I'm telling you that this is who I am. This is what I do. And if you can't handle that, then you need to leave. But you need to know that leaving means you're on your own. No protection, no resources. No one between you and everyone who wants to use you as leverage. So I'm a prisoner. You're protected. Same thing. It's really not." Alara drank the whiskey. All of it. The burn felt good, real. "I can't do this," she said. "You don't have a choice. There's always a choice. Then make one. Stay and be safe. Or leave and hope you survive long enough to regret it." It wasn't a choice, it was an ultimatum. And Alara Vaughn, who'd spent 6 years making impossible decisions, was so tired of being the only one who had to make them. "I'll stay," she said quietly. "For now. Until this is handled. Then Mila and I are gone." "Fair enough. But I want something in return." "What?" "The truth, all of it. No more secrets, no more lies. If I'm going to be part of this, I need to know exactly what I'm part of." Lucien looked at her for a long time. Then he said, "Okay, starting now." "Starting now." "Who is Alexei?" Lucien's expression darkened. "Victor's boss, head of the Russian syndicate in Chicago. He's been trying to move into our territories for 5 years. And now Victor's dead. Now Victor's dead. Which means Alexei is going to want revenge. Yes. Against you. Against all of us." Alara felt her stomach drop. "Mila is safe. I have 20 men on this building, 10 more on her school. She won't be out of sight for a second. You can't watch her forever. I can until Alexei is handled. And how long will that take?" Lucien didn't answer, which was an answer in itself. Alara walked to the windows. Dawn was breaking over Lake Michigan. Pink and orange light spilled across the water. The city was waking up. People were starting their days, going to work, taking their kids to school, living normal lives that didn't involve Russian syndicates and execution-style killings. "I don't know if I can do this," she said quietly. "You can." "How do you know?" "Because you're still here." He was right. She was still here, still standing, still breathing, still fighting, even when fighting meant standing next to a man who just killed someone to protect her. Alara turned to face him. "I need you to promise me something." "What?" "If this goes wrong, if Alexei comes after us and you can't stop him, promise me you'll get Mila somewhere safe." "I will. Even if it means leaving me behind." Lucien's jaw tightened. "No." "That wasn't a request, and it's not happening." Lucien, "No." He crossed the room, stopped in front of her, close enough that she could see the blood still spattered on his collar. "I'm not leaving you behind. I'm not sacrificing you. I'm not making that choice." "Then you're a fool." "Probably." His hand found hers. "But I'm your fool." The absurdity of it made her laugh. A broken, exhausted sound. "This is insane," she said. "Completely. We barely know each other." "I know enough." "Do you?" "I know you're brave. I know you love your daughter more than anything. I know you came to that warehouse even though you knew it was a trap because you thought you could save someone." He paused. "I know you're better than me. Better than this world. Better than anything I deserve." "Stop. It's true." "It's not." Alara pulled her hand away. "I'm not better. I'm just surviving. Same as you." "No, you're living. There's a difference." "Is there?" "Yes." Outside, the sun continued rising. Chicago came to life. And somewhere in the city, Alexei Sokolov was planning his revenge. But in that moment, standing in a penthouse overlooking a city that wanted to destroy her, Alara Vaughn made a choice. She wasn't going to run. She wasn't going to hide. She was going to fight, even if it killed her. Especially if it killed her. Because Mila deserved a mother who didn't back down. And Alara had spent 6 years being invisible. It was time to be seen. "Teach me," she said. Lucien looked at her. "Teach you what?" "How to survive in your world. How to fight. How to protect myself and Mila when you're not there. Alara, teach me, or I'm leaving tonight and taking my chances." He studied her face, looking for doubt, for fear. He didn't find any. "Okay," he said finally, "but it's going to change you." "Good," Alara said. "I'm tired of being who I was." And somewhere in the back of her mind, a voice that sounded like her own whispered that she'd just crossed a line she could never uncross. That the woman who walked out of this penthouse wouldn't be the same one who'd walked in. That once you learned how to fight like a Moretti, you could never unlearn it. But Alara didn't care, because her daughter was sleeping in the next room, and she'd burn the world down before she let anyone hurt her. Even if it meant becoming someone she didn't recognize. Even if it meant losing herself completely. Outside, Chicago gleamed in the morning light. Beautiful. Deadly, and waiting to see what Alara Vaughn would become when she stopped trying to be good and started trying to survive. The training started at dawn. Alara woke to find Lucien already dressed in workout clothes, standing in her doorway with 2 cups of coffee and an expression that suggested he hadn't slept. "Get up," he said. "We start now." "Mila is with Maria. She's making breakfast. She'll be fine." Alara sat up. Her body ached from yesterday, from the warehouse, from watching a man die. "I don't know if I can." "You can. Get dressed." She did. 10 minutes later, she was standing in a room she hadn't seen before. It was on the lower level of the penthouse. Concrete floors, punching bags, weight equipment, mats that smelled like sweat and violence. "This is where you train?" she asked. "Every morning, 6 a.m., 2 hours. Lucien set his coffee down. "Today you're learning how to fall." "Fall?" "Without breaking something important." He spent the next hour throwing her onto the mats. Not hard, not violent, but deliberate. Teaching her how to tuck her chin, how to roll, how to absorb impact without shattering. Alara hit the ground 23 times. By the end, she was drenched in sweat and her shoulders were screaming. "Again," Lucien said. "I can't." "Again." She got up, fell again, better this time, smoother. "Good," he said. "Tomorrow, we do it faster." The second hour was worse. He taught her how to punch. Not the wild swings people threw in movies, real punches. The kind that came from your legs and your core and everything you had. Her knuckles split after the 15th hit. Lucien wrapped them without comment, then made her do 15 more. When it was over, Alara could barely lift her arms. "Shower," Lucien said, "then breakfast. Then we talk about what comes next." "What comes next?" "Alexei." The name hung between them like a threat. Alara showered. The hot water stung her split knuckles. She watched blood swirl down the drain and wondered when exactly she'd become the kind of person who bled before breakfast. When she came out, Mila was eating pancakes at the kitchen island. Maria stood nearby, watching her with the same careful attention a bodyguard might use. "Mommy!" Mila's face lit up. "Maria made chocolate chip pancakes. They're so good." Alara kissed the top of her head. "That's great, baby. Are you okay? You look tired." "Just working out." "With Lucien?" "Yes." "Is he teaching you to fight?" The question was too perceptive, too knowing. "He's teaching me to be strong," Alara said carefully. "Good." Mila went back to her pancakes. "You should be strong, like the moms in my books who save people." Alara's throat closed. Lucien appeared in the doorway. He'd changed into a suit, dark gray. Perfectly tailored. He looked like he was about to walk into a boardroom, not plan a war. "Marcus is outside," he said to Alara. "He'll take Mila to school. 2 cars. 4 men. She won't be alone for a second." "I want to take her," Alara said. "You can't." "Why not?" "Because you're coming with me." Where? To meet my father. Elara's stomach dropped. No, it wasn't a request. I'm not going back to that house. We're not going to the house. We're going to his office. Lucien's voice was steady, patient. Alexei declared war last night. He sent a message to every family in Chicago. He's claiming Victor's death as an unprovoked attack. He's calling for retribution. So? So my father is the head of this family. He gets to decide how we respond, and he wants to meet the woman who started this. I didn't start anything. You existed. That was enough. The words hit like a slap. Mila looked between them. Are you fighting? No, baby, Elara said quickly. Just talking. It sounds like fighting. We're fine. Lucien crouched down next to Mila's chair. Hey, your mom and I need to go take care of some grown-up stuff, but Marcus is going to take you to school. He's really nice and really good at his job. What's his job? Keeping you safe. From what? From anything that might scare you. Mila thought about this. Is something scary happening? No, Lucien lied smoothly, but your mom and I want to make sure you're protected anyway, just in case. Okay? Mila looked at Elara. You'll pick me up after school? I will, Elara said. She hoped it was true. 20 minutes later, Elara watched from the penthouse window as Marcus led Mila to a black SUV. 2 more vehicles flanked it. Men in suits stood at intervals, watching, waiting. It looked like a presidential convoy. It looked like her daughter was important enough to kill for. She'll be fine, Lucien said behind her. You can't promise that. I just did. Elara turned. What happens if you're wrong? I'm not wrong. But if you are, then I'll kill everyone involved. He said it without emotion, just fact. Every single person who had a hand in it, I'll burn their world down and scatter the ashes. That won't bring her back? No, but it'll make sure nobody tries it again. The logic was brutal, effective, terrifying, and Elara understood it completely. Vincent Moretti's office was in the Loop, 47th floor of a building that probably had his name on the deed. Glass and steel, and the kind of view that reminded you exactly how small you were. The elevator required a key card. The hallway required passing 2 separate security checkpoints. The receptionist looked like she could kill someone with a letter opener. Mr. Moretti is expecting you, she said without smiling. They walked through double doors into an office the size of Elara's entire apartment. Vincent sat behind a desk that looked like it had been carved from a single piece of mahogany. 3 other men stood around the room, all older, all watching Elara like she was evidence in a trial. Elara, Vincent said. Sit. There was a chair directly across from him, leather, expensive, positioned so she'd have to look up at him. She sat anyway. Lucien remained standing. He moved to the side of the room, close enough to intervene, far enough to let this play out. Do you know why you're here? Vincent asked. To be blamed for something I didn't do. One of the other men snorted. Vincent's expression didn't change. You're here because your presence in my son's life has created complications. I didn't ask for any of this. No. But you accepted it. You moved into his home. You let him protect you. You became valuable. Vincent leaned forward. And in this world, valuable things attract attention, dangerous attention. Then maybe the world needs to change. The world doesn't change. People adapt or they die. Elara met his eyes. Then I'll adapt. Silence. Then Vincent smiled. It wasn't warm. Lucien, leave us. No, Lucien said. That wasn't a request. I don't care. She needs to understand what she's gotten herself into, and you being here makes that impossible. Then she doesn't need to understand. Vincent's eyes moved to his son. Something passed between them. A conversation in glances and micro-expressions that Elara couldn't translate. Finally, Lucien said, 5 minutes. Then I'm coming back in. He left. The door closed behind him. Vincent stood, walked around the desk, leaned against it so he was looking down at Elara. My son thinks you're special, he said. Is that a question? It's an observation. He's protected you, killed for you, put his organization at risk for you. That's not something Lucien does. Ever. Maybe he's changing. Men like Lucien don't change. They just find new reasons to be what they've always been. Alara's hands tightened in her lap. What do you want from me? I want you to understand the cost. Vincent's voice went quiet. Dangerous. Alexei Sokolov isn't Victor. He's smarter, more patient, more willing to hurt innocent people to make a point. And right now, you're the point he wants to make. Then let me leave. It's too late for that. You're in this now, whether you want to be or not. So what am I supposed to do? You're supposed to become someone worth the trouble you've caused. Vincent straightened. Lucien is teaching you to fight. That's good. But fighting isn't enough. You need to learn to think like we do, to see threats before they arrive, to make the kind of choices that keep people alive. And if I can't, then you'll get my son killed, and your daughter, and everyone else stupid enough to care about you. The words were designed to break her, to make her run, to prove she was exactly what Vincent thought she was. Weak. Alara stood up. She was shorter than Vincent, smaller, but she didn't back down. I'm not leaving, she said. I'm not running. I'm not going to let Alexei or you or anyone else decide what I'm worth. So you can either help me survive this, or you can get out of my way. Vincent studied her. Then he laughed. Actually laughed. You've got more spine than I thought. Is that a compliment? It's a fact. He walked back to his desk, pulled open a drawer, removed something small and black. A phone. He handed it to her. What is this? Alara asked. Secure line. Encrypted. Only 5 people have the number. Now you're the 6th. Why? Because if something happens to Lucien, you're going to need help. And I'd rather you call me than make a stupid decision that gets everyone killed. Alara took the phone. It was heavier than she expected. You're helping me. I'm protecting my investment. Your son isn't an investment. Everyone's an investment. The question is whether the return is worth the risk. Vincent sat back down. Right now, you're high risk, low return. But Lucien seems to think you're worth it, so I'm giving you a chance to prove him right. The door opened. Lucien stepped back in. Time's up. Vincent waved a hand. We're done anyway. Alara stood. She tucked the phone into her pocket. Thank you, she said. Vincent didn't respond. They left. In the elevator going down, Lucien asked, What did he give you? A phone. Why? In case you die and I need someone else to call. Lucien's jaw tightened. He's preparing for the worst. Aren't we all? The elevator doors opened. They stepped into the lobby, and that's when Alara saw her. Stephanie, standing near the entrance. She looked better than she had at the warehouse. Clean, bandaged, but her eyes were red from crying. Alara, she said, please, I need to talk to you. Lucien's hand went to Alara's back. Keep walking. But Alara stopped. Give us a minute. No. Please. Lucien looked at her, then at Stephanie, then at the 2 security guards who'd materialized nearby. 2 minutes, he said. I'll be right there. He walked toward the entrance, far enough to give them space, close enough to intervene. Stephanie rushed forward. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know I didn't think. You didn't think at all. I know. I was desperate. I owed so much money. They said they'd hurt Grant. They said a lot of things. And you believed them, instead of asking for help. I couldn't. Stephanie's voice broke. You don't understand. Everyone was already looking at me like I was a screw-up, like I'd wasted everything. I couldn't admit I'd made it worse. So you sold me instead. I didn't know what they'd do with the information. I swear. I thought they just wanted to know who Lucien was dating. I didn't know they'd threaten Mila. I didn't know. Stop, Alara's voice cut through the hysteria. Just stop. You don't get to make excuses. You made a choice. A terrible, selfish choice. And people almost died because of it. I know. Do you? Do you understand that my daughter had armed guards take her to school this morning? That I'm learning how to fight because your mistake made me a target? That I watched a man die because you couldn't stop gambling? Stephanie was crying harder now. What do you want me to say? I want you to say you understand there are consequences. Real consequences. And that sorry doesn't fix them. I understand. Good. Alara started to walk away, then stopped. One more thing. Grant knows about everything, about you selling information, about the gambling, about all of it. So whatever future you thought you had with him is over. Stephanie's face went white. How? Oh! Because Lucien told him. And Grant is a lot of things, but he's not stupid enough to stay with someone the Russians know about. Elara walked away. She didn't look back. Lucien was waiting by the car. He opened the door for her. You okay? He asked. No, but I will be. They drove in silence for 10 minutes. Then Lucien's phone rang. He answered, listened. His face went absolutely still. When? He asked. Listened again. How many? More listening. Get everyone to the safe house, now. He hung up. What's wrong? Elara asked. Alexei just hit 3 of our locations simultaneously, burned them to the ground. Was anyone? 6 men are dead, 12 more injured. He's sending a message. What message? That he can reach us anywhere, anytime. That Victor's death was just the beginning. Elara's stomach turned. What do we do? We end this, tonight. How? Lucien looked at her. We're going to give Alexei exactly what he wants, which is me. The plan was insane. They laid it out in the penthouse with 15 men crowded into the living room, maps spread across the coffee table, weapons on the dining room table. Everyone talking at once until Lucien held up a hand. Silence. Alexei wants a war, Lucien said. He wants to prove he's stronger than us, that we're vulnerable. So we're going to give him the chance to prove it. How? Marcus asked. We leak my location, make it look like I'm meeting someone important, somewhere isolated, somewhere he can't resist hitting. That's suicide. That's bait. Lucien pointed to a spot on the map. There's a restaurant in Greektown, Konstantinos. Been in the same family for 40 years. They owe me a favor. We'll close it down for a private dinner. Make it look like I'm meeting with the Irish, like I'm trying to form an alliance against the Russians. And when Alexei shows up, we'll be ready. One of the other men spoke up. You're putting yourself in the kill zone. Yes, that's necessary. Lucien's voice was hard, final. Alexei won't send someone else, not for this. He'll come himself, and when he does, we end him. And if something goes wrong, then you get Elara and Mila somewhere safe. That's the priority. Lucien, Elara started. No. He looked at her. This is what has to happen. He's not going to stop, not until one of us is dead. So it's either him or me. There has to be another way. There isn't. The certainty in his voice was terrifying. When? Marcus asked. Tonight, 8 p.m. That gives us 6 hours to set up. And if he doesn't take the bait? He will. His ego won't let him pass up the chance to kill me in front of witnesses. The men dispersed, moving with the efficiency of people who'd done this before, checking weapons, making calls, preparing for violence. Elara pulled Lucien aside. You can't do this, she said. We've had this conversation. I'm serious. This is too dangerous, too... Elara. He took her face in his hands, gentle. This is the only way. You know it. I know it. Alexei won't stop until I'm dead or he is. And I'm not dying today. You don't know that. Yes, I do. How? Because I have too much to lose now. He kissed her, hard, desperate, like it might be the last time. When he pulled away, his forehead rested against hers. I need you to do something for me, he said quietly. What? I need you to take Mila and go to the safe house. Stay there until this is over. No. Elara, no. I'm not hiding while you walk into a trap. You have to. I don't have to do anything. She pulled back, looked him in the eyes. You taught me to fight. You taught me to fall. You taught me to survive. So let me survive with you, not waiting somewhere wondering if you're dead. If something happens to me, then I'll handle it. But I'm not leaving. Lucien stared at her, looking for a way to change her mind. He didn't find one. Fine, he said finally. But you stay in the car, with Marcus, away from the restaurant. You don't move until I give the all clear. Agreed. It was a lie. They both knew it, but he accepted it anyway. The next 4 hours were a blur. Mila came home from school. Alara spent an hour with her, reading, playing, pretending everything was normal. Then Maria took her to another room, somewhere safe, somewhere with guards. Alara got dressed. Not the nice dress Lucian had bought her, something practical. Dark jeans, dark shirt, boots she could run in. She found the gun Marcus had given her, the one she'd lost at the warehouse. Lucian had retrieved it, cleaned it, left it on her dresser with a full magazine next to it. She loaded it, checked the safety, tucked it into her waistband. At 7:30, the convoy left. 5 SUVs, 20 men, enough firepower to start a small war. Alara sat in the third vehicle with Marcus driving and 2 other men in the back. "You should have stayed with Mila," Marcus said. "Probably. He's going to be pissed when he realizes you're here. Let him be pissed. You know this is crazy, right? Everything about the last 2 weeks has been crazy." Marcus almost smiled. Fair point. They reached Greektown at 7:55. The restaurant was closed, lights on inside. Lucian's car was already parked out front. Marcus pulled over 2 blocks away. "We wait here." "For how long?" "Until it's over." Alara watched the restaurant through the windshield. She could see movement inside, shapes passing in front of windows. At exactly 8 p.m., 3 black cars pulled up. Not SUVs, sedans. Expensive. European. 6 men got out, and in the middle of them, Alexei Sokolov. He was older than Alara expected, gray hair, expensive coat. He moved with the confidence of someone who'd never lost. They walked into the restaurant. "Here we go," Marcus muttered. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Alara's heart was pounding. Her palms were sweating. "What's taking so long?" she asked. "Probably talking. Alexei likes to talk before he kills people." "That's not comforting. Wasn't meant to be." 15 minutes, then gunfire. It erupted from inside the restaurant, loud, sustained. The windows shattered. Marcus grabbed his radio. "All units move in. Now." The other SUVs converged. Men poured out, moving toward the restaurant with weapons raised. More gunfire. Someone screamed. Alara couldn't breathe. "Stay in the car," Marcus said. He was already opening his door. "Where are you?" "Just stay here." He ran toward the restaurant. Alara sat in the back seat, alone, listening to the sound of people dying. She counted to 60, then to 60 again. Then she got out of the car. She moved toward the restaurant, staying low, using parked cars for cover. The gunfire had stopped. That was either very good or very bad. She reached the entrance. The door was open, hanging off one hinge. Inside was chaos. Tables overturned, glass everywhere, blood on the floor and walls. Bodies. At least 4 of them. Maybe more. She couldn't tell. Alara stepped over debris. Her hands were shaking. The gun felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. "Lucien?" Her voice came out barely above a whisper. No answer. She moved deeper into the restaurant, past the main dining room, toward the kitchen. More blood. A trail of it leading through the swinging doors. Alara pushed through and found him. Lucien was on his knees. His shirt was soaked with blood. His face was pale. Standing over him was Alexei Sokolov. He had a gun pressed to the back of Lucien's head. "Ah," Alexei said when he saw Alara. "The nurse." How perfect. Alara raised her gun. Her hands were shaking so hard she could barely aim. "Let him go." "Or what? You'll shoot me?" Alexei smiled. "You're holding that gun like you've never fired it before, which means you won't. You're not built for this world, little nurse. You're soft, weak, everything that gets people killed." "I said let him go." "And I said no." Alexei's finger moved to the trigger. "Now you're going to watch him die, and then you're going to tell me everything you know about the Moretti organization, or I'm going to kill your daughter next." Alara's vision tunneled. She thought about Mila, about the wooden rabbit, about chocolate chip pancakes. She thought about 6 years of being invisible, of being dismissed, of being treated like she didn't matter. She thought about the woman who'd walked into a coffee shop desperate enough to accept help from a stranger, and she realized that woman was gone. Alara pulled the trigger. The gun kicked in her hands. The sound was enormous. Alexei stumbled backward. His gun clattered to the floor. He looked down at the hole in his chest, then at Alara. "You shot me," he said. like he couldn't believe it. Yes. You actually... Alara shot him again. He fell. Lucien collapsed sideways. Alara ran to him. Where are you hit? Her hands moved over him, finding the wounds. There were 3 of them. Shoulder, side, leg. None of them immediately fatal, but bad enough. I'm okay, he said. His voice was weak. You're not okay. You're bleeding. You shot him. I know. You actually shot him. I know. Alara pressed her hands against the worst wound, trying to slow the bleeding. I need bandages, clean towels, something. Marcus burst through the door. He took in the scene. Alexei's body, Lucien bleeding, Alara covered in blood. Jesus, he breathed. Help me, Alara said. He's losing too much blood. Marcus moved. Fast, efficient. He tore off his jacket, used it to apply pressure. Ambulance is coming. How long? 5 minutes. He doesn't have 5 minutes. Then keep pressure on it and pray. Alara pressed harder. Her hands were slick with blood, Lucien's blood. Stay with me, she said. You hear me? You don't get to die. Not after everything. Alara, no. You stay awake. You stay with me. His eyes were starting to close. Lucien! She shook him. Look at me. His eyes opened, barely. There you are, she said. Her voice was shaking. Keep looking at me. Don't you dare look away. Tired. I don't care. Stay awake. Mila, is fine. Safe. Waiting for you to come home. Tell her yourself. When you wake up. Sirens wailed outside, getting closer. Almost there, Marcus said. Just hold on. Alara kept pressure on the wound, kept talking, kept Lucien's eyes on hers. The paramedics arrived. They moved fast, professional. They loaded Lucien onto a stretcher. Are you family? One of them asked Alara. Yes, she lied without hesitation. Then come with us. She climbed into the ambulance, held Lucien's hand the entire ride to the hospital. They wheeled him into surgery. A nurse tried to make Alara stay in the waiting room. She didn't. She walked past her, followed the gurney as far as they'd let her. When the surgery doors closed, blocking her view, she stood there for a long time. Then she walked to the bathroom, locked the door, and looked at herself in the mirror. Blood covered her hands, her shirt, her face. She'd killed a man tonight, not in self-defense, not accidentally, deliberately. She'd looked Alexei Sokolov in the eyes and pulled the trigger twice, and she didn't regret it, not even a little. Alara washed her hands. The water ran red. She scrubbed until her skin was raw. Then she walked back to the waiting room. Marcus was there. And 3 other men. And Vincent Moretti. Vincent looked at her, at the blood still on her clothes. You killed Alexei, he said. It wasn't a question. Yes. Why? Because he was going to kill your son. Vincent studied her. Then he did something unexpected. He smiled. Welcome to the family. The surgery took 4 hours. Alara sat in a plastic chair and didn't move, didn't eat, didn't drink, just waited. Finally, a doctor emerged, still in scrubs, still wearing a surgical mask pulled down around her neck. He's stable, she said. Lost a lot of blood. One of the bullets nicked an artery, but we got it under control. He's going to be okay. Alara's legs gave out. Marcus caught her before she hit the floor. Easy, he said. He's okay. You heard her. He's okay. Alara couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. The relief was so overwhelming it hurt. Can I see him? She managed finally. He's in recovery, still sedated, but you can sit with him. They let her in. Lucien looked small in the hospital bed. Pale. Tubes and wires everywhere. But his chest was rising and falling, steady, alive. Alara sat next to him, took his hand, and finally let herself cry. She cried for everything. For the last 2 weeks. For the woman she'd been. For the woman she'd become. For the man in the hospital bed who'd seen her when she was invisible. She cried until there was nothing left. Then she leaned her head against his shoulder and closed her eyes. And somewhere in the hospital, her phone buzzed. A message from the encrypted phone Vincent had given her. She pulled it out. Vincent, the Russians are scattered. Alexei's organization is in chaos. You bought us time, maybe even peace. Well done. Another message came through. Vincent. Lucien will need to recover. That puts you in charge of his interests until he's back on his feet. Don't screw it up. Alara stared at the message. In charge. Of a criminal organization. Her, the single mother, the nurse, the woman who'd been sitting at table 14 2 weeks ago trying not to fall apart. She should have been terrified. Instead, she felt something else. Purpose. Alara looked at Lucien, still unconscious, still fighting. Then she typed a response. Alara, I won't screw it up, I promise. She sent it. And Alara Vaughn, who'd spent 6 years surviving, finally understood what it meant to fight. Not for herself, for the family she'd built from broken pieces, for the man who'd given her a choice when she had none, for the daughter sleeping safely in a penthouse guarded by men who'd die to protect her. Outside, Chicago hummed with life. Inside, a woman who'd killed to protect what she loved sat beside a man who'd taught her how, and waited for him to wake up, so they could finish what they'd started. Together. Lucien woke up 3 days later. Alara was asleep in the chair next to his bed when his fingers twitched against hers. She jerked awake immediately, her body responding before her mind fully caught up. His eyes were open, foggy, confused, but open. Hey, she said softly. Her voice was rough from disuse. She'd barely spoken to anyone since the shooting. Alara. His voice came out as a rasp, barely audible. I'm here. Don't try to talk. You're okay. You're safe. His eyes moved around the room, taking inventory. Hospital, tubes, monitors, the machinery of survival. How long? 3 days. You've been in and out. The doctor said you'd wake up when you were ready. Alexei? Dead. Something flickered across his face, relief maybe, or regret. With Lucien, it was hard to tell. You shot him. Yes. Twice. He deserved it. Lucien's mouth curved, barely. My little nurse. Turning into a killer. Don't call me that. Which part? Little or nurse? Both. But there was no heat in it, just exhaustion. A doctor came in. Young, efficient. She checked Lucien's vitals with the practiced ease of someone who'd done this 1,000 times. Welcome back, Mr. Moretti, she said. You gave us quite a scare. How bad? Bad enough. 3 gunshot wounds. Significant blood loss. You coded once on the table, but you're stable now, strong vitals. If you keep improving at this rate, you'll be out of here in a week. 2 days. Absolutely not. 3. The doctor looked at Alara. Is he always like this? Worse, usually. Fantastic. She made notes on her tablet. I'll be back in a few hours to check on you. Try not to die in the meantime. She left. Lucien looked at Alara, really looked at her, taking in the dark circles under her eyes, the clothes she'd been wearing for 3 days, the exhaustion radiating from her like heat. You stayed, he said. Where else would I go? Home. To Mila. Mila's safe. She's with Maria and 8 guards who'd die before they let anything happen to her. I needed to be here. Why? The question surprised her. Because you almost died. People almost die every day. You're not people. Alara's voice cracked. You're... She stopped, couldn't finish. Lucien's hand squeezed hers, gentle. I'm what? Mine. The word came out quiet, certain. You're mine, and I don't let go of what's mine. Something in his expression shifted, softened. Come here. Alara